Hey, I'm Isabel Bercaw, and when I was 12 years old, I founded a multi-million-dollar bath and body products company called Bomb Bath. After 5 years of building my own brand, I've discovered a passion for helping young and innovative entrepreneurs tell their stories. Hopefully, you'll be inspired by the guests here on Build-A-Biz and maybe even motivated to start a business of your own. Let's get into it.
This is Build-A-Biz with Isabel Bercaw.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Build-A-Biz. I'm your host, Isabel Bercaw, and today I have joining me the ballerina behind the snack bar brand, Get Golden, and she is here today to tell us all about how she started her entrepreneurial journey. Please welcome Jenelle Manzi.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. And just a little fun fact, this is actually going to be the 20th episode of Build-A-Biz. So, yeah, I guess it's a special benchmark, maybe.
Exciting.
Yeah, so I think I just kind of want to start with what led you to ballet, because that, in a way, translates to why you started your business.
Yes. So when I was 4 years old, my grandmother took my family to see the Nutcracker, New York City Ballet's Nutcracker, here in New York. And I remember being in complete awe by everything I saw. And the only thing I do remember, because I have a postcard to prove it, was seeing Darcy Kistler perform as a Sugar Plum Fairy. And I told my grandmother that I wanted to write to her. I don't even know how I thought about this, but I did. And so she helped me write this postcard, this letter to Darcy Kistler. I don't know what it said, but I ended up getting a postcard back that said, always follow your dreams. And so I had this postcard. I still have it. I had her sign it at her retirement. And I think I just became completely I'd taken back and in love with this art form and with ballet. And I couldn't stop dancing around the house. And so my mom was like, okay, we need to get her into dance lessons. So that kind of kicked things off. And I started dancing at a small studio, a local studio in New Jersey. So my family's still in New Jersey and I'm from New Jersey, and started taking lessons there. And I would say when I was around 10, that was when my mom had asked me this one pretty crucial question, now that I think back to it. But at the time, I didn't really think much of it. And she had said that, right now, if you really want to take this seriously, we have to move to a bigger studio to get you better training. And that means that you're going to have to switch schools and start over. And I looked at her and I said, okay. So I auditioned for the School of American Ballet when I was 11. And I got in, which was cool. And then every day I would go. I had started at a new school in New Jersey, and every day I would go to school in the morning, and then my mom would drive me into New York, and we would go to ballet. And I mean, you do that for many years, and it's really hard. But when you love it, you just do it. And so that that led into everything. And then when I was 16. I was asked to become a member of the New York City Ballet.
That's awesome.
Which kind of came as a surprise a little bit earlier than I had thought, and my parents had thought. But I mean, it was the dream come true, and I'll never forget that moment. And that's pretty much how it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I guess I can draw just a couple parallels to my story, I guess. It's kind of cool. I noticed that you were just like, you had to pick a moment where you had to 100% dive in and commit. You know, with my business, we couldn't just be like, oh, we're going to kind of do a couple orders a week. At one point, we had to decide, like, we're going to register as an LLC. We're going to lease a warehouse for the first time. You know, we're going to fly out to these big meetings, you know, because it's an initial investment. In a way, you really had to invest a lot of your time and money to become or I guess to like follow your dreams and become the ballerina that you are today.
Absolutely.
And that's super cool. And I guess I'm just curious. So some people might look at you and say, like, you have the dream job. Like, I want everything that you have. And like, honestly, I admire you so much. That's so cool that you're a dancer, because I'm not very limber. So even that, I'm looking in from the outside who's not a dancer, I'm like, that's so cool to be a ballerina. So I guess, like, what would you want to tell some people about your job that they may not know, right away? Obviously, it's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and it's like a very physical job. But I guess I want to ask you, like, what makes your job different than other people's jobs? And I guess after that, I'd really love to get into how you founded your snack bar company.
Yes. I think that the biggest difference about being a ballerina versus having, a 9-to-5 job, a job that maybe doesn't revolve around your body. I think we are very similar to any sort of major sport, where it's constant maintenance. So you don't just leave work. You can't leave work. You can't just leave the office and go home. And there's obviously, there are times where you have periods where you shut things out, but with that said, it's constant work. So when you're dealing with your body as an instrument, the body's a system. So it's the mind, it's the entire body, your limbs, everything. So in order for that to function optimally, for you to be able to do your job, you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and staying on top of it pretty much all the time. And I've had my own fair share of lessons of knowing when I didn't necessarily ice my foot one day, or didn't necessarily do those exercises that were supposed to help my ankle get stronger. You really do notice when you do them that they are beneficial. And I think that, to answer your question, I think because it's this all-encompassing job and art form, it creates this all-encompassing quality that you are just always working. You're living and breathing it. I think that's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would say, like, in that mentality, I guess? I like that you used the words like all-encompassing. I was kind of thinking that, like, that might have maybe even helped you start a business, because I remember when I was starting my business, my work really was all encompassing, and you don't really get a lot of free time, and you have to stay up till like 1 a.m. sometimes. Like, for me, it was like making the products at first in my house and like packaging everything out. So do you think that in a way helped you start your business? And then I guess now I just kind of want to jump into how it started Get Golden.
I think there's one thing to note before we even jump into the business, and it's that it's part of the reason why I started the business. But I think when I first got into the company, I was not necessarily the best at pacing myself in terms of working. And I think that because sometimes we get so excited about achieving a goal or doing this or doing that, you don't necessarily listen to your body and have balance. And I think that there are times where, yes, something can be all-encompassing, but I also think that there are ways that you can prioritize your time and be really strategic and really thoughtful and intentional on how you're spending that time. So that doesn't mean, it just means that you can create your own balance. And I think that sometimes there are periods in your life where there's more balance than others. But I do think that it's important to note that the all-extreme, all-encompassing sort of mindset is not sustainable.
Yeah, totally. And I like what you said. The way I'm a very visual person. So the way I'm kind of visualizing it in my head is, you can give something like 100% of your effort, but you have to divide up the percentages into different activities.
Absolutely.
That's like the smartest way. So I'm just going to kind of think about, like, I'm Jenelle and I need to figure out what I want to do with my energy, I'm going to spend 10% of my time making a healthy meal for myself throughout the week. I'm going to spend 20% of my time. I know that like ballerinas like cut and like sew their own shoes. So we'll
much
20% of your time, maybe even 50 if it's that much, is spent, doing fixing your shoes. So it's like you almost have to like, just like you said, I really like that you said that, be strategic with effort you're putting where and when. And honestly, tell me if you think different, but I personally think that just comes with experience and, trying things out. Yeah, because I know that when I was first starting my business, like that balance between school, life, and work really wasn't there. It was just a lot of work. And then over time, I did learn to kind of manage, what I was dealing with that. And that, some advice that I always also like to just reiterate on my show, I've talked about it multiple times, is that like the best way you can learn how to do something is by actually doing it. So like you can take business classes, you can Build-A-Biz, and you'll get a lot of awesome like feedback, I guess, but it would be like a ballerina reading a book on how to dance and then just going to the performance for the first time. Like it takes some practice, obviously.
Practice and experience.
Yes.
And lessons learned, hardships.
Yeah. What's a hardship that you faced?
My first injury. So I had these osteogonums. They're extra bones in the back of your heel. 1 in 3 people have them, but particularly ballerinas and soccer players, sometimes because of the plantar flexion, irritate them. And long story short, mine had broken off and there was a ton of inflammation. And I got a few cortisone injections because I was really eager to get back on stage and dance. And I think it was just a bad mix of perhaps cortisone and overworking. I think I was really eager. And I ended up having to have surgery on my ankle and have my FHL tendon. I had to tear my FHL tendon, so I had to have that put back together, and then it was a really long recovery. So if you add together the year that I had spent in and out of a boot cast getting cortisone injections for the osteogonum to then the tendon tearing, it was nearing 2 years by the time I fully recovered. And so that was when I was 17, 18. So it was 2 years after I got in the company. And it really set the tone and completely changed my mindset and changed my life. And that was, I guess you could just say I became a different person from that moment on, because it was a really, really, one, traumatic, and 2, humbling. But I wouldn't change it for the world, because I feel like it really helped me. It helped me open my eyes to other things outside of ballet, because I think that when you are training to be a ballerina, it's the only thing you can see. And then when it's taken away from you, you feel really lost. And I had always planned to go to school, and that's what I did at Fordham. But I think that it was just a huge shift in the way I approached life. And so that really led me to where I am now. But when I was recovering from this injury, like when I was back on stage, I kept dealing with a lot of inflammation issues and a lot of food allergies. I had never had food allergies in my life. And all of a sudden I couldn't eat. It was the strangest thing. I couldn't eat avocado. I couldn't eat banana. I couldn't eat apples. And it was just one thing after the other. I would constantly break out. I would constantly get really inflamed. And I would go on these elimination diets and just get almost more frustrated, because we couldn't really figure out why I was always so swollen. And then I remember I cut out gluten. I had a test and they said, like, it looks like you perhaps are having a severe gluten intolerance. So that was what I cut out. And for me at that point, that was the game changer. That was the trigger that kind of flipped off the switch. So the body, I don't know, sometimes goes into these phases where when you're in the super inflamed state, it was almost like everything set off the fire alarm. And once I took gluten out of my diet, I was able to start adding everything back in. And for me, it was really, really helpful to kind of get my system back in order because it was really, really rough.
Yeah, I can't even imagine being that frustrated with not being able to eat all your favorite foods. Even if I don't have an injury, if someone tells me I can't have some kind of food, I do get kind of upset. Jenelle, we're actually going to take a really quick music break, but when we come back, I want to hear all about how this period in your life and career inspired you to start Get Golden. Hey everybody, welcome back from the music break. You're listening to Build-A-Biz on Build-A-Bear Radio, and I'm your host, Isabel Bercaw, and today I'm interviewing Jenelle Manzi, the ballerina, and also the founder of Get Golden snack bars, and she is with us here today to tell us about how her traumatic ballet injury actually led her to start what is her very own snack bar company today. So, Jenelle, what do you remember about this period in your life, and how does that bring you to where you are today with your business?
And I just remember being so frustrated because I had finally healed from my injury, but it was still, everything was still swollen because all of a sudden I had all these food sensitivities, and it was a really rough time, and it got me really interested in just alternative ways of healing and eating and listening to the body. And I think that sometimes, we're now learning more and more about the gut microbiome every day and how it's our second brain and how we go through periods in life where our body processes foods in a different way, depending on how our mind is working, everything, stress and trauma. And I think that it really, it taught me a lot. And that was when I got busy in the kitchen because I'd always loved to bake. I'd always loved to make things, snacks and chocolates. And all of a sudden I couldn't eat any of the things that I used to make because it was always a little bit more, I guess, decadent. And I felt really frustrated, and I was so bored with what was out there on the market. And this was like, I would say 8 years ago, I feel like we're so lucky now. We have a lot of options, but back then it was really weird. You would get a gluten-free piece of cake and it was this soggy, strange, sandy, just bad. And I remember being like, there's gotta be a better way. There's gotta be a better way. So I just started making snacks, and this was for me, my other outlet where I would bring them to work and I would share them with my friends and I would get feedback, and it became my way to connect with people and connect with my friends and do what I loved and be able to share it. And so I started this small little blog and started posting recipes online and continuing to share my snacks. And then my friend, we were on a bus to the Kennedy Center because we go there every year to dance on tour. I was handing out these chocolates and I was about to post the recipe online, and my friend goes, Jenelle, you need to just start a company. I would buy these. And I said, I should. There's this book, When to Jump. I had read the book, and that moment was when I jumped. In the Kennedy Center, on tour at the State Plaza Hotel, I called my Pilates instructor, found a lawyer, signed my LLC for the company, and we started the company. And then we decided to come out with a nut and seed bar first because I felt like that was, for me, what I needed the most. Because I found that when we were always on tour, there are periods where we're bringing a really pretty intense amount of repertoire, and it means that you're rehearsing during the day, and sometimes there are really long periods of time where you are just working really hard, and you have 3 hours until lunch or 2 hours until lunch, and you need something to sustain you. So I had been making these nut and seed bars and bringing them in mason jars on tour because I loved them, and I knew that it was what I wanted to make. So we started to work with our facility, and that was the start of the company.
That's awesome. So where does the name Get Golden come from?
It comes from And it's one of those things where I don't have, it's an I don't know, but I know exactly. And it comes from that inner vibrant light that we all have.
I can actually, like I said before, I'm like an extremely visual person, and I can kind of imagine like when you're eating good things that are like good for your body and, you know, maybe not going to inflame you, it can actually, you know, it gives you good energy too. I feel like.
Absolutely.
So I can, and it's a really fun name to say too. So
we like it.
Yes, I do very much. So your bars are selling out very, very fast. And that's like your biggest problem right now. I guess I want to know, like, one, how does that make you feel? And number two, where can I get one? Because I need to get one before they all sell out.
It was and soon will not be our problem, which is exciting. But I mean, you started your own business. You know how everything goes in phases. Everything. I'm learning something new every day, and this is still very new. We're not even a year old. But you just learn how to gauge placing orders, POs. And I think that our previous manufacturer was not able to meet demand. So we're in transition moving to a larger facility, which is really, really, really cool. And so that's exactly what's happening behind the scenes right now, is that we're expanding into a larger facility so that we can meet demand and be able to produce larger quantities. Yeah. And we've also shifted all fulfillment to New York as well. So there have been some production changes. And then we are also expanding into retail. But the move was obviously that we needed to expand facilities first. And then now we are working on expanding into retail. And that's what we're currently doing this summer, which is it's fun. But primarily direct to consumer on our site, getgolden.com.
That's awesome. Well, you're going to see an order from me later. So I guess when you say do you have like a team of people and like some employees that are working for the business now?
So we have a small team, and everyone has, their own role. It's very small.
Does it feel good to employ people?
So currently we have contract workers. So everyone is on contract. Everyone seems very invested. And of course, I mean, I think it connects back to ballet in a way where the end result is obviously the product and the experience that we're giving our customers. But I think that it's working together with other people that creates energy and vibration that there's nothing like it when you create something with other people to then share with more people. There's a direct parallel to dancing on stage, let's say, for an audience where you're working so hard with a unit of people to give to someone else. And it's really, it's fun. It's weirdly similar, which is why I think about it a lot.
Something that kind of reminded me of was like, in a way you like traded, or not traded, but let's just say like when you did have that foot injury that kind of prevented you from dancing at all at sometimes, and even, you know, dancing to your fullest capacity. In a way, you kind of traded one company for another, a dance company for a snack bar company, and now you're balancing both, which is super cool. I guess I kind of want to ask you, what's some advice that you would give somebody who's maybe experiencing a setback they didn't see coming?
Mm-hmm. I think it's important to embrace the setback. I always found it tough. There's a balance, and I know that word sometimes gets a little bit, but you sometimes have to sit in it for a little bit to really just let things settle, because I feel like sometimes we're so eager to have this quick fix and to have this next thing and this just fix it, just move on. And sometimes life doesn't work like that. And I think it's important to kind of sit in your stuck place for a little bit, or maybe just try and learn and understand where you are, why you're there, and maybe how you can change it. What would make you feel like your best self getting out of it? And I think that is probably the most healing way to approach it, because I personally have tried to escape low points too quickly, and you just kind of end up bouncing back. So I think that a setback is something that will always set you up to learn even more about yourself, about your job, about what's next. And I think in accepting that process and accepting that there is something great ahead of you, and once it's either presented to you or you reach out and try and get it, you just have to keep working and keep believing, because if we don't believe in the next step or the next dream, I mean, that's what life's all about, you know?
Yeah, totally. I love that. And, I like that you highlighted too, that there's like, it's okay to have low points. Cause I think that like,
we're not robots.
Right. It's something
we're really not robots. We're humans. We have hearts, we have brains.
Yes, totally. And like, I think it would probably be easy for you to, I think you even touched on this earlier, it was easy for you before to just really like say like push yourself and say like, I can do anything. And, like there's a healthy limit, you use the word balance. But then even earlier in the interview, you were saying like, I used to just give 100% like way too fast, and then I get burnout kind of thing. And, yeah, it's trial and error at that point. And that may not be what people want to hear sometimes. They may not want to hear you have to go through a hardship to then have a triumph. But I think what matters is at the end of the day, if the triumph outweighs the hardship, then that's something to celebrate.
Exactly. And sometimes the only way to get to this point is through experience.
Yeah. Well, Jenelle, unfortunately, this is all the time we have left today, but I so appreciate you coming on my 20th episode of Build-A-Biz. And everyone should definitely follow Jenelle and Get Golden on Instagram. Do you want to just give a quick shout out to your socials?
Yes. So our company's social is Get Golden. So just at GETGOLDEN. And then my name is Jenelle Manzi, JENELEMANZI. And you can follow along.
Yes, and keep your eye out for if the snack bars are fully stocked on the website, because I know I'm going to be stalking the website later just to see if I can get some. Thank you so much, Jenelle.
Of course.
All right, so if you want to listen to any of the past 20 episodes I've done this year, definitely go to the Build-A-Bear YouTube channel, where you'll find a Build-A-Bear Radio playlist. And then you can also follow me on Instagram at Isabel.Bercaw, where I will be posting weekly updates on who I'm interviewing next. Have a great day. Until next time. Bye.